Hello everyone, welcome back to another breakdown. And this time we're gonna talk about the song Alberto Balsalm by Aphex Twin. But before we do, you already know, please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this here on this channel. Okay, let's go. So Alberto Balsalm is a track named after shampoo of almost the same name without the second L, and it is featured on the third studio album by Aphex Twin named I Care Because You Do. Allegedly, this is the last album where Aphex Twin did everything analog. This record continues the same ambient kind of a vibe from the previous releases from Aphex, with a little bit of a hip hop, of a trip hop kind of a feel to the beats. It also sparkled some comparisons to some classical figures like Philip Glass, who would later collaborate with Aphex Twin on a song. It's actually a great record and I really recommend you guys to go check it out. But for now, let's dive into Alberto Balsalm. So let's start this talking about the BPM of the song, and as we always do, this one is something around 1994. It again moves up and down, but just a minor difference, just a little change and just a little bit. It's not so drastic. It's just 1 BPM of a difference. I don't think it's even that much, but it happens throughout some sections in the song. I'm gonna demonstrate it real quick for you guys. At the beginning here, you can actually see that the BPM is around 94. I'm gonna delete this automation here, and let's check it out, the beginning here. The beat is okay around here, right? But if we would move, like, I don't know, to the end of the song, it's kind of dragged. It's kind of behind, maybe. Right? At least it's different for sure. So that's why I had to automate most of the BPM around the song to adjust the tempo to what was actually happening and map the notes accurately. Okay, so that's it. Again, a song that shifts a little bit to the BPM. As I said before, I Care Because You Do. It's arguably recorded through analog gear, and that gear could actually introduce this minor change to the tempo. But enough with the BPM. Let's actually dive into the song, into the structure of this whole beat. We have this little intro here that it's almost like a sample of something buzzing. I'm gonna turn off the metronome. Okay, it's like a radio signal or something like that. Then after that, we get the main idea of the song, the chords and the bass, the synth bass that is gonna lead the song. And I'm gonna have this for a big segment here, a long segment. And after that, we get this little variation here on the synth bass and on the beat itself and all of the elements. And then we get this drop around here. Then the main idea comes back, playing for a little bit longer. We get the same variation. The idea comes back with little drops in the drumming from here and there and some variations until we get to the end of the song. Okay, it's a very repetitive song. But it's again interesting how Aphex manages to just with little variations in texture, a little bit sometimes in the chords and the instruments that he uses to keep the track always alive and breathing and delivering something interesting from time to time. Alright, so let's go. Let's check it out, the intro here. It's an interesting piece. Okay, it's a weird sound. I'm not really sure what is this sound, what is this sample from. Couldn't really find anyone saying anything about this, but it does sound like a buzz, maybe a fly. I don't know, maybe someone talking and just a cut being repeated through some distortion, some noise. But it's doing this repetitive pattern, doing these notes here, an F and an E flat. All right, it's doing this pattern here. It's an interesting technique to just pull you into the song because it's a weird sound, and it's almost in the key of the song that I'm gonna tell you guys about it later. Yeah, I think that's it. It's just a way to, if you're listening through the album, when this starts, it's like, whoa, what is the sound? You get interested to it, and it's a cool intro. It's a good way to introduce us to the beat, to the song itself. It happens quite often with Aphex Twin's catalog. But yeah, that's it. After that, we're gonna get introduced, as I said, to the main idea of the song, that is this one. Let's go from here. A little bit of silence. Okay, we have this kind of a 2-bar cycle, 2-bar loop. And the element here is, I'm assuming there is a sub bass, a synth bass doing some low notes. This shaker here, a snare that is actually not really a snare, but more of a rim shot, and the kick. And this sample here that is pretty famous amongst Aphex Twin's fans. They love this sound here, and some people actually argue that this is maybe a chair moving, but most people actually say that this is an ammunition box that Aphex Twin owned, and it is like opening the box and it's making this sound. The source of the sound is not really that important. It's more like the way he uses and the way he treats it. Like he distorted, puts a lot of reverb on it, and makes it more of a percussive sound. Something that wasn't even from a percussion instrument or something like that, right? Let's hear for that. Again. Yeah, it's a pretty cool sound, and serves the same purpose as this one. It grabs your attention. It's an element that is actually highlighting the beginning of the loop every time it happens, and as it is a weird sound, it makes your ear gravitate towards it. We're gonna see that this is maybe a 4-bar loop because the synth bass from time to time tends to change a little bit, just a note here and there. Yeah, let's see this as a 4-bar cycle, as a 4-bar loop, and let's check it out, the elements that are forming this cycle. As we already know, there is this chair, kind of a sample here. I tried to replicate this one. All right. Later I'm gonna play this together so you guys can check it out. But yeah, for now let's just dissect the elements that are happening here. We get also the kick happening. This song is kind of a hip hop beat. So we already talked about this a lot on previous videos. The kick on those beats, they are almost always hitting on the 1 and on the 3. But here we get also those hits here that are happening a little bit before this second impulse and a little bit before the fourth impulse. It's an interesting pattern, but I believe it's just a variation on the boom bap kind of a hip hop sound. Yeah, it's doing this pattern there. I'm gonna highlight it a little bit. And the snare here, it's interesting. It's not really a snare, it's more like a rim shot, as I told you guys before. And it's again doing the kind of a hip hop rhythm. The snare here, it's gonna hit on the 2 and on the 4, but also it does happen right before the third impulse and right before the loop restarts. The loop starts once again. So let's highlight the snare here. I have 2 layers because I just wanted to recreate this sound, and so to make it a little bit more close to what actually sounds in the song, I put a rim shot with this snare here, and let's highlight it just to understand the pattern. Right? Without it. It's possibly a rim shot along with something else, maybe just a quick snare or something like that. And we also get this shaker happening here. It's the most groovy kind of element to the beat, and it's doing this pattern here. Let's highlight it. Okay, and along with the drums, along with the beat here that I just showed you, we get the synth bass that it's gonna later do some chords. But for now, I just mapped these notes here, and it's doing the following pattern. Let's hear it. Let's highlight it and listen to it once again. And here it changed a little bit, especially at the end. These two notes right here in this section are not so much happening, I think. I'm not sure. Let's listen, and let's just listen to the song. There's almost a silence here, but it's tough to figure out because along with the synth bass, we also have this sub bass happening underneath it that is doing these notes here. But let's just check it out, the notes from the synth bass. I believe there's probably more information happening, but make it a little bit more simplified. I would say that the synth bass is doing a B flat, then going to an E flat, then a D, and then a D again up there, up an octave, and then ending things with the B flat. On this second pattern here, and things are going to change a little bit from time to time. This is not actually a 4-bar cycle that's going to be repeating throughout the song. Things are going to be more like this last one here, and this one here, just the main change, the main difference is at the end here, at the ending here, that is doing a G, a D, and a B flat once again. All right, and this plays along, as I said, with the sub bass that is doing a B flat, then going to an E flat, a D, and a G. So let's hear for the sub bass right now. I'm gonna highlight it. Let's put them together. This second D here, right here, it's a little bit weird. I'm not sure if it's happening there. It feels more like there is nothing happening there, I don't know. Or maybe it's again an E flat. I'm not sure, but this note here sounds a little bit different. Definitely not an F. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a C. Yeah, yeah, maybe it's just a D actually. After all, maybe it's just silence. I'm not sure, but as always, as I say, let's argue, let's discuss this on the comment section. Okay, so throughout the whole song, I'm gonna be playing how I recreated everything. I didn't really put so much effort on the sound design, but I tried to get a little bit close just to make it sound a little bit like the actual sound, the actual song sounds. Okay, so let's listen to it just to get a bit more of a clarified sound here. Let's turn this a little bit down. So the sound of it should be something like this. Okay. This synth here is the main idea of the song. I did it with massive and a little key modulation with this actually as higher as you hit the wave is getting modulated. All right. In another video, we could actually discuss a little bit more of sound design. This one is actually a little bit more about the arrangement and the structure and how things are displayed throughout the whole song. Okay. So yeah, you have these 4 bars here happening, and right after that we get a little bit of a drop here and a new element, a new percussive element. It's gonna get presented. So let's go from here. The synth bass here is pretty much doing what it was doing before. The sub bass once again, the shaker is just holding the same pattern, and we get this new kind of a bell. It sounds like a bell, but I'm not sure. It could be something, some metal thing, some steel being hit. I'm not sure. So, but it's making this pattern here. I'm gonna highlight it. It's a little groovier than the other elements, and it adds a lot of movement to the beat. After this 2 bars cycle here, once again we get the same idea from the beginning. Okay, the same pattern is gonna repeat for another cycle, for another 4 bar cycle. Let's go. Let's listen from the drop. The chair happening once again, along with all the elements. Okay. But this time we hear a little melody underneath everything. The volume, it's really low. It's like almost you can't really hear, but let's try to catch that right now. Okay, I'm gonna highlight it. Okay, this next one you're gonna actually be able to listen a little bit better to it. But the notes are pretty much in the scale of B flat major, being B flat, C, then a B flat again, a D, and an F. All right. After this 4 bar loop, once again we get the same drop happening with the kind of a still sample happening here. But yeah, now our synth bass is gonna present us with a little more harmony to the song. Okay, let's listen to it once again. I'm gonna highlight this time. I'm not sure if I did this accurate. Let's listen isolated to the chords that I get. Along with the song. Maybe this one's not so... Maybe it's again a G minor. Yeah, it's probably just a G minor once again. You guys are gonna see that I didn't really, that I couldn't really catch the chords for the song so accurate. I'm open to discuss once again. I would love if anyone would give me their thoughts and say, hey, this may be these chords or those chords or whatever you guys think that might be the case. But in this first section here, I think the chords are probably a B flat major happening here, then going to an E flat major, all right, and then going to a G minor with probably a D in the bass, and then a G minor once again, but with a G on the bass. Okay, I think this is the chord progression for this part right here. All right, let's listen to it once again, but without this instrument. With it, the same synth bass from before, and as I said, this time the melody is really more present. If we compare this with this one, here, it's underneath so low, but right here it's way up front in the mix. If we highlight it, it would sound something like this. Okay, the drop, little drop once again, and it comes back to the same groove. This is pretty much the idea of the song right here, okay? The chords happening here, followed by the synth bass along with this melody. So let's check it out, this 4-bar cycle. That is the idea of the idea for the song. If you check it out, the version that I did, it would sound something like this. So as you guys can see, we have the same idea being repeated for like almost, I think it's 24 bars, but with this little drops and with this chords happening also, this little melody. So always getting some new element, some new stuff to make things interesting. Okay, so right after this, we're gonna get a little drop again, and this is gonna introduce the new section, the new segment, that things are gonna vary a little bit more. So let's check it out from here. The beat becomes a little bit more loose. Actually, all the elements are a little bit more like a jam. They're not so loopy as before, as it sounded before. Before it sounded more like a loop being repeated, and this section a little bit more, it's actually bigger, longer somehow, you know? And actually is, it's, I could say it's a 6-bar cycle, okay? And let's check it out, what's happening here. The elements are almost the same as before, but they're doing different stuff and actually fulfilling different roles here. As I said, it's actually a 6-bar kind of a cycle, which makes things again interesting. Let's check it out, the kick, how it sounds now. I'm gonna highlight it. All right. Yeah, it's a variation from before. But again, you guys can check it out that it's happening from time to time. It's hitting from time to time on the 1 and on the 3. Here it doesn't happen, but it's right after. Here it does happen to hit on the 3 and on the 1. Here there is 1 on the 3 again, and so on. Okay, you guys can check that. Although this is pretty much more syncopated and weird, it's again based on what was established before, so it's not something that goes so far ahead from what was playing before, okay, which is interesting, makes the beat still familiar to whoever is listening to it. Now let's focus on the snare. Let's listen for the snare. I highlight it, but I'm gonna turn it off right now. Okay, the same thing as I said with the kick here. Things are a bit different. Of course, they are more diverse, and it happening in not so much predictable pattern here. But you guys can check it out that the 2 and the 4, they are almost always present. Okay, there's a 2 here, the 4 should be here, it's not happening. There's a 2 and a 4 again. Here it's not happening at all, not even here, but here it's happening again. So yeah, again, it's a variation, but it's respecting the roots that established before. Okay, so that's an important thing for you guys to pay attention. It's important to vary things. It's important to build variations, but it's also important that you keep the listener a little bit more grounded. Okay, you have to keep in mind that if you jump too much ahead, if you do a drastic change, a drastic shift in the rhythm, things could sound a little bit too overwhelming for the listener to keep listening to your song. But that could be your intention. So it depends a lot. It's really up to you to make that decision. But you have to be conscious about what you are doing. Okay. So yeah, and the shaker here, it's not so present as it was before, because the kind of a steel metal sample, it's gonna come back here with a little bit of a different key. We're gonna check it out later, but let's focus on the shaker rhythm. I'm gonna highlight it and turn off the snare. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off so you guys can listen. Without it happens right here, it's really tough to get. It's underneath everything, around here too, right after the kick, and gets more present. Okay, this is the 6 bar kind of a pattern that the shaker is doing. And we also are gonna get this metal sample here, but I think that this one is shifting. This one is changed in key. It could be actually another whole sample, different sound, but I think it could be the same sample but in a different key, being played on a different key. I'm gonna highlight it, turning it off. Right here it gets a little bit more intense. Okay, this one is in different key, maybe. It's higher. But yeah, it could be a different sample. It could be the same sample but played with different settings in a different key too. But yeah, the rhythm, the pattern is actually this one. It's again groovier than the rest of the beat. It's interesting and it's not so predictable. And as the kick and as the bass and the snare are not so weird, this one can have a little bit more of a freedom to do this weird hits, and it happens on weird spots on the grid. Okay, the synth bass here, it's again doing this progression here, and it's doing actually some chords along, but I couldn't really catch so much of the chords. I tried to actually grab the more kind of more important notes, the notes that actually you know, your ear can pay attention to it. So let's listen. I'm gonna highlight it. This next one here, it's doing again some minor variations. Once again, it's a 6 bar cycle, but with lots of variations, with lots of minor differences that makes things a little bit more alive. I mean, let's just compare this one. I'm gonna turn it off. Right here, it's really interesting because it's kind of doing this, it's kind of opening the filter a little bit, so it creates this curve on the resonance that's really interesting around here. It's cool. Works really well with the reverb. Okay, the pattern, it's pretty similar, but the ending here, it's quite different. So let's check it out. This first one here. And right here. Okay. It's different, but those two are the same, I suppose. Kind of the same. This one's way louder, and there is some other notes being played along. Okay, and along with the synth bass, we get again the sub bass happening. I'm gonna turn it up. And then it starts once again. All right. That's interesting because you know, it's a weird pattern, it's a weird progression, but you can actually understand when it loops itself around here. It gets up and starts once again. Here is the same. Okay, so it's an interesting thing. Along with those elements, we have this little sample here happening. It's again kind of a buzz thing. Let's listen for that. Okay, I hope you guys can catch this. Almost like a radio tuning happening again here. Okay. I don't think it happens around here. Should, but I don't think it does. Oh, actually. And it happens here too. Okay. It's similar to this one in the beginning of the song, but I feel like this one is in a different key. But they are quite similar. Okay, so yeah, we get this happening for 18 bars. Yeah, 3 cycles of this 6 bar, kind of a loop, kind of an idea happening here. And right after these 18 bars, we're gonna get again the same idea from the beginning, with the chair moving, the same kick and snare pattern and the shaker and everything once again. So let's check it out. Let's listen from these 2 last bars here. The same sample as I told you guys before, and then the beat returns to its original state with the chords, the melody, the little drop. Okay, the only difference here is just that the kind of a bell, kind of a metal sample, it's gonna be playing on this second 2 bar cycle here, but it's just 1 hit and maybe 2, or maybe it's just 1 hit, as I said, with the delay. Let's check it out. Let's go from here. Doesn't happen here, but it's gonna happen right here. Just 1 hit, and maybe with a delay. And now it's the little drop that happened before. The kick drops, and the snare drops too. Okay, this is really a real drop, let's say. The kick doesn't happen. And this time actually the chair doesn't happen on this second bar here, and yeah, the kick and the snare drops, and the shaker too, so we have a little bit more of a silence here. So let's listen from here. Just the sample a little bit delayed, the chords with the melody and the sub bass. The shaker comes back, and the beat returns to its original state once again. Okay, we have this little variation here again too. Okay. The synth bass, it's always changing in sound. It's a little bit more open from time to time, a little bit more closed from time to time, okay? It's always modulating. The little drop. And the same segment from before. But this time, we have this new synth here. It's an interesting synth. It's really tough to recreate because I think there's a lot of modulation happening here. It sounds, I put this name here, cat synth, because it sounds almost like a cat meowing, you know? So yeah, this is the main difference from the last one that I just showed you, from this part here. It's the same segment, but now with this new synth, things are gonna get a little bit more intense. Okay, so let's check it out. I'm gonna try to highlight it with this version that I did. Okay, and it's a beautiful sound too. It's a weird sound, but so beautiful. It could actually be two synths. I'm not sure, because I can hear some sort of a string happening underneath it. Right here at the ending. I actually even mapped here, because here it's pretty clear, so let's check it out. Alright, let's highlight it and listen once again, and listen to it once again. Without it. And even though with those crazy modulations, this synth, it's doing a beautiful melody, and it adds so much more energy and more, it intensifies this segment here a lot. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same, doing what I showed you before, the same pattern here on the drums, on the beat. But this time, at the end of the 18 bars, we're gonna actually see a little trick that Aphex did to make things return to the main idea of the song, the main beat. So let's check it out. He just reverses everything. Maybe it's a reverse on the master of the song. And it's pretty cool. And this time, the synth bass and the sub bass drops, I think, for the first time in the song. Yeah, it was actually holding for a long time, and this is the first time that the sub bass and the synth bass drops and makes the beat pop up a lot in the mix, especially because Aphex turns the reverb all the way up along with the compression, so things are more aggressive. It's huge, it's big. So let's listen for that from here. The beat's way bigger this time than was before. There is a lot more of reverb and I think compression too. The same trick happens here, the reverse kind of a trick. The little drop from before. Once again, the beat by itself with lots of reverb and compression. The reverse trick one more time. The little drop and the sub bass along with the synth bass. It's almost as we kind of came into the beginning of the song. Alright? Little bell from time to time. same drop, the chords, followed by this melody. I'm gonna turn off the sub bass. That sample happens here. Yeah. Let me see if it happens here too. I didn't quite pay attention to that. Yeah, it does. So yeah. And it probably happens throughout some parts of the song that I couldn't catch it. Let's see if it happens here. No, definitely not. But here it does. And we're actually getting towards the end of the song, and it's the same as it was before in the beginning, on the intro. The beat drops, the whole beat drops. We can actually hear the sample way better here. The last chair. Cool. Lots of reverb on the synth bass. The melody. Things turn a little bit slower here. Like it's dying. It's getting tired or something like that. Doesn't even play the whole progression. Yeah. And this melody happens again, but now it's a little bit different on the envelope. So let's check it out. I guess there is less attack to it. It's more pointy. It's more pointy. But yeah, that's it. Then the song fades out. Alright. So yeah, guys, I think that's it for Alberto Balsalm by Aphex Twin. It's an interesting song. And what surprised me for this song is that it's such a simple song with this kind of a hip hop sound to it that I didn't quite make the link to Aphex, because I don't know, I think Aphex is way more different in rhythm than when I think of hip hop, of trip hop. But if you actually think of the period where this album was released and this song, it makes sense. And it's interesting, especially because this is such a popular song that made me try to understand why that's the case. Why so many fans actually choose this one as the main Aphex track, or maybe his greatest track or something like that. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm thinking this song is in B flat major. I couldn't really catch the chords, guys. I've really tried, but there was a point where I was like, my mind was frying and I couldn't really quite understand it. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys once again with my remake or rework or whatever, recreation, whatever you wanna call it. And thanks a lot for watching. Okay, so until the next time.